This video was brought to you by CuriosityStream. Rishi Sunak has been Prime Minister for 53 days now, and some of you may be wondering why he hasn't really, done anything. He's made a couple of appearances at speeches, but he's rarely seen outside of Westminster and the Commons. It's reasonable to ask then why this is. Is this just an accident, or is staying out of the limelight part of a wider strategy? Well, let's have a look at exactly what Sunak has done and whether an argument can be made that this is deliberate. Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister on the 25th of October, following 49 days of turmoil and chaos under Liz Truss. The Conservatives tanked the pound, put pension funds at risk, and damaged trust in politics more generally. The accession of Sunak was not a moment for celebration, and Sunak knew it himself. Unlike Prime Ministers before him, he didn't have a group smiling and cheering for him as he arrived at Downing Street for the first time. It was a toned-down, business-like occasion for a new Prime Minister trying to signal that he would return the country to business as usual. In his first speech in front of the Black Door of Number 10, Sunak admitted that he admired Truss's restlessness to create change, but also went on to say that mistakes were made by the Truss regime. In a further acknowledgement of the mayhem that Truss and the divided Conservative Party thrust the country into, Sunak went on to say that he aimed to put your needs above politics. The politics he was referring to here was likely the politics of his party that had ended Truss's time in Number 10. In essence, the Conservative Party can't really decide on who or what it is right now. There's the Boris-loving contingent that wants nothing more than the 2019 election winner back in the driving seat. They see Rishi Sunak as the main reason that their beloved former Prime Minister is now on the backbenches. Members of this faction include Nadine Dorries, Jonathan Gullis and Lee Anderson. There's the Liz Truss contingent, who believe that her tax-cutting agenda was ultimately correct and think that Sunak was wrong to increase taxes. Then there's the Sunak backers, who agree with his fiscal realist stance. The fact that there are three distinct groups within the Conservative Party right now, all of which have reason to want the others to fail, means that Sunak may want to tread carefully and not give Truss and Johnson backers reason to try and topple him. This may explain why, since he became Prime Minister, Sunak has tried to avoid being in the public eye too much. His first engagement since becoming Prime Minister was his attendance at COP27, something he originally said he wouldn't attend. Days later, on the 17th of November, his Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, presented the autumn statement to the House, which raised taxes for most economic groups. This was tempered, though, by some concessions for those hardest hit by the cost of living crisis in the UK, which included increases in the minimum wage and an increase in benefits in line with inflation. Then, at the end of November, Sunak made a speech at the Lord Mayor's banquet, which aimed to outline his government's changed attitude towards China. His main commitment in this speech was that the so-called golden era of relations between the UK and China would come to an end. Alongside these moments in the speech where he was attempting to demonstrate that his government would toughen the UK's position on China, he did also vow to show robust pragmatism in relation to China, which, in essence, watered down his message. Considering that Rishi Sunak has been in office for more than a month, it's surprising that he hasn't really done anything other than the speech and the budget statement. There's been no big bits of legislation pushed through Parliament, there's been no large international deals agreed to, and the only big speech made by the Prime Minister was wishy-washy, with the Prime Minister trying to indicate that he'll be both hard and soft on China. Even aside from this, Sunak hasn't really been seen out in the public at all, despite the ongoing cost of living crisis and a December that's becoming dominated by strike action. This has got so bad that even journalists that are normally friendly to the Conservatives have started to attack the Prime Minister. Nick Ferrari, who hosts a talk radio show on LBC, criticised the Prime Minister on air by asking, "Where is he?" I know it got to the ludicrous point where more often than not you'd see Boris Johnson wearing a yellow vest, walking around a cake factory or driving a bulldozer or what have you, but at least there was some energy in it. Similarly, Christopher Chope, who writes for the conservative-leaning Telegraph, has nicknamed the Prime Minister Invisirishi. So why has Sunak done nothing and been nowhere? Why does he appear to be hiding? Well, part of this reason is likely because he's worried about those groups in the Conservative Party that we mentioned earlier. Ever since they tore down Johnson and Truss, they've had the taste of blood, and perhaps Sunak is aware of this. Perhaps he assumes that his safest course of action is to try not to do anything that could give them reason to move against him. And indeed, what better way to do this than by doing nothing? Now, in theory, this could be a relatively good strategy. After all, while Sunak has had scandals in his first 50 or so days in office, they're nowhere near as damaging as the scandals that engulfed the Johnson or Truss governments. He's still in office, and there are virtually no signals anywhere that he could be brought down anytime soon. The thing is, though, that this hiding in plain sight technique does come with one very big side effect. It creates a media vacuum. Without anything from the government to report on, the media start to look elsewhere for stories, which can sometimes include the opposition. The opposition rarely get given airtime, and the fact that, last week, significant attention was paid to their constitutional reform plans is at least partially as a result of the media vacuum created by a lack of government action. So it's clear that there are upsides and downsides to Sunak's apparent strategy. Whether this will help Sunak improve his pretty terrible polling numbers right now is not clear. What is clear, though, is that Nebula are having a huge sale right now, which you can find linked in the description below. You've heard me tell you about Nebula before, but there's a big sale on right now, so if you've ever considered signing up, now's the time. Essentially though, Nebula is the streaming service we built with a bunch of your other favourite creators. Over there, we've posted a bunch of exclusive full-length TLDR videos which will never come to YouTube, but you'll also find a load of our normal videos early and ad-free there too. As I said, it's not just us either, there's tons of other amazing creators too, which makes it astonishing you can get all of this exclusive and ad-free content for less than $1 a month. Normally, people sell you things as being less than a cup of coffee. This is less than a bottle of water, and a fraction of what other streaming services are charging. Services which don't directly support independent creators. This crazy good offer is only available right now, and it's only possible through our Nebula Curiosity Stream bundle. Essentially, if you sign up to Curiosity Stream for the crazy low price of $11.59 a year, then you get free access to Nebula as long as you're a member. That's right, 2 platforms for less than $1 a month. And Curiosity Stream is awesome. It contains absolutely boatloads of high-quality documentaries on all kinds of topics I know TLDR viewers will love. So if you want both for less than $1 a month, then the link's down below. And if you've ever considered signing up to support TLDR, now's the cheapest time to do so. So, thank you.